Okay, so now that you've got some good overviews of this module, let's talk about how to approach the module. You'll see here there are your responsibilities and some teachings and readings and your learning outcomes. What I suggest you do to start the module is to review this folder here that talks about QI and evidence-based practice. Especially watch this video. It's about 10 minutes. Review if you can't remember the difference between qualitative and quantitative studies, and look through these materials here. Then, after you do that, review the material here about PICO questions. If you're already solid on that, you know, just glance through it. If you need a little more help, go through this carefully. Then look here in this background and significance section. In here, there are a couple of exemplar literature searches, literature reviews, and pay careful attention to the early sections of these. That should help you with an exemplar on the kind of information that goes in the background and significance to set up the rationale for why your PICO question is important to others besides just you. You know, there's always that question of the so what question. Okay, so you have this question, but so what? What's going to happen when you answer it? And that's what you do in the background and significance section. So there are some examples in here of published literature reviews that can give you a flavor for the kind of information to put in there. And that's the few paragraphs that you would write and put up onto the discussion board as your background and significance section of your paper. So after you do that, and you have your PICO question, think about when you're reading, you know, searching the literature, what kind of things, after you identify articles that seem good or relevant to your PICO question, what kinds of things do you want to extract from there? You certainly, although we all do it at some point or another, you certainly don't want to have a stack of PDFs sitting on your desk and have to leaf through those every time you want to write something in your own paper. So what you want to do is extract from those published papers critical information that you need to help say what is known and maybe not known about your topic. We provide you with some tools for doing that. There are some sample blank matrices in here. Dr. Clancy mentioned that in her introductory video for the module. And there are some practical tips here. So once you have a good framework for the background of your PICO question and why it's important, then think about what you want to learn from the literature. There are standard things that you always extract, like the citation, the author, and the year, the sample and the setting. You know, was it primary care? Was it acute care? Was it rural? Was it urban? Were they all men? Were they all women? Were they children? Were they adults? That kind of thing. So you definitely, those are standard things that you'll want to summarize. How big the sample was, you know, was it 100 people? Was it 2? That kind of thing. But then you may want to add additional items to extract. Like for me, when I study sleep, and I say, let's say, what kind of sleep disorders impact people at the end of their life, let's say. When I'm going through the literature for that, I would make a column that says, okay, how did they measure sleep, or how did they ask about sleep? Was it a scale of 1 to 10? Did they use some standard instrument? Did the caregivers report? That kind of thing. So you may have something like that in your body of literature that you want to specifically capture that isn't shown in these examples. Okay, and then down here in this column, also this folder, also we have what I'm calling the summary before the summary. If you got your master's degree here, you may have in your research class, nursing research class, had to write a few paragraphs on individual studies. And what these are blank worksheets that help you take a whole paper and get it down to 1 or 2 pages of bullet points. And so if you wanted to use these tools, you could do that first and then put them in your table. But ultimately, you'll want a succinct table of key points about each article from which you can synthesize. So you don't have to have the table filled out for the first discussion board, but we really want you to think about what kinds of things you will want to get out of the literature. And then let me make sure I've covered everything that's in this particular module. Oh, theoretical frameworks. So think about what you want to do with the results of your literature review. Now, you don't necessarily need a framework, a theoretical framework to guide your search of the literature. That's what you've just done with going through and creating the table of items that you want to extract. But think about what you want to do with your results. Do you want to improve a process? Do you want to teach patients? Do you want providers to make a change? And then think about everything you know from your background in nursing theory. What kind of framework would you use to guide the use of the results of your literature review? That's what we want you to look for, because ultimately that will be what you use to drive your project, your DNP project. And these are the topics that will be discussed in Discussion Board 1. All right, see you in Module 2.